So, thank you so much for joining me again.
No,
in
that's
2023, Declan Miller. He's one of our presenters at the Logan Writers Festival this year, so we are very excited to have him and Stick Mob, or him as representative of Stick Mob, come to the festival again.
No, it's a pleasure to come down and all that stuff, and I really loved last year and the vibe that everyone had, and
Even though it absolutely poured down and blew us away.
was it? It's Brisbane weather for you. It's Brisbane weather. It's lovely.
The weather must be much more stable in Alice Springs, surely.
It is. You know, I was just talking to Belinda the other day about just how in our rain season is December.
Yep.
And we get like 2 weeks of rain, and that's the rain we get for the year. And it's just like, yeah, everything's green for about a month, and then it goes back to shades of orange and browns, and it's amazing, but it's just very steady. It's always hot and sometimes cold.
I think in Brisbane you get the weather where it's, unlike Melbourne where it's 4 seasons in one day, we get 4 seasons in a month, but they can swap at any moment.
Oh yeah, no.
Suddenly you get a storm, but the humidity is constant.
Oh, constant. You know, no, I'm never wearing a jacket here.
Ever.
Maybe long sleeve, possibly, but I'm rolling that up at the end of the day.
You'll finally get to experience winter here. Which is about 2 days long.
Oh, hell yeah. No, that'd be amazing. That'd be great.
So, tell me a bit about what you've been working on, because I know you just had a Kickstarter and the new books that you're bringing out soon are in the works.
Yes.
So, Declan, show us a bit about what you've been working on since we last spoke.
Oh, absolutely. So, pretty much we just finished our Kickstarter for book 2 for Mixed Feelings.
I have book 1 and it is fantastic. I'll be putting up a review on my author stuff later. But honestly, when I saw the Kickstarter for this and we shared it around Facebook, it was like, oh, we might get there. And then when you told me like 2 days later that you'd hit the mark and gone over.
Absolutely. We pretty much, so we were asking for just about $2,000 just to get off, like for our first goal, just to get off the ground, to just get some books published and sent to people. And because we were wanting to actually get it done and ready and published for the Perth Oz Comic Con. And we managed to hit that mark about a week before.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
We nearly reached one of our other second goals and all that stuff, where we get a personalised back plate for the books. But what's it called? That's always book 3.
Yep.
Always book 3, ready for book 3. And hopefully everyone knows about Mixed Feelings and knows about Stick Mob, so we can get more books out there.
So what is Mixed Feelings about?
So Mixed Feelings is about a coming-of-age story of teen drama, time traveling, supernatural themes, and it's mainly about finding yourself and discovering yourself in and trying to leave a small rural town and understanding how families all work and just the complications of how a family can be and the intricacies of that.
Do you feel like that hits close to home for you and the other members of Stick Mob?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's really good to see some representation of the desert, the Central Australia in the desert, told by First Nations people. And
yes,
absolutely, because different views, and some people think the desert, desolate wasteland. It is sometimes, but it's very beautiful. It can be green sometimes when it rains. And, there's a lot of life out there, and it can be quite lively and quite rambunctious.
So, I find that there's definitely a lack of First Nations writers that are writing about the desert. I find a lot of them are just about Darwin, Northern Territory, that sort of stuff. Do you find that there's any cultural blocks between being able to write and make art that's for the masses when it comes to First Nations people?
Very, very much so. So the problem that a lot of First Nation writers and illustrators and people have is pretty much understanding what we can tell as a culture. Because of our history and because of the past, we have been very... At the start, we were very open. Yeah. And by what Scott Wilson said at the last Comic-Con that we're at, we were very open as a culture. And we were trading, we were passing on knowledge, and we were telling stories and sharing that language, sharing those cultures together and those stories. But as colonization happened and as all these things happened throughout our time, we became more closed and more secretive about what our cultures are and our laws and what happens with lands and our wordings and our language. And after a while, we're slowly starting to release, and we have to be more open about our culture and open about these things, because what we know is very important to look after the land.
Yes.
And how we can pass that on to biologists, to botanists, and to all these people that help look after the land, that have more power than we do to look after these lands and look after these animals. And the barriers we face with that is that, but also pretty much where we live is very rural, and getting things done costs a lot of money. Getting things done, getting anything to these places is very expensive, and having those people that are able to support and be able to mentor mob to get their stuff out there is extremely important to Stick Mob and to the rest of Australia.
Yeah, it sounds like there needs to be a very welcoming and open space that stays welcoming and open for First Nations people to come along and to have that piece of the pie. To be able to stand there and not have to integrate into anything, but just be accepted for exactly who they are. Which it lends itself so well to Australia being so multicultural. And so I find that Australians, anyone born here wants to travel out of Australia.
Yes.
And it's just innate in us. I think we always come back home. We still call Australia home as an anthem, even more so than the national anthem some days. But we always come back, or most of the time come back. Most of us come back. My brother's still in Canada.
We disappear and we just fade back in. It's like, oh, where have you been?
There's definitely an urge to travel and this innate curiosity about all other cultures. I think that when we're going to someone else's place, or when we're going to someone else's space, we're instantly curious about what that looks like, what the food tastes like, especially what the instruments are and the music and all of this. So that innate curiosity lends itself to any writers groups across the country for keeping a welcoming space open for First Nations people, and actively reaching out to the different writers groups, and also going into schools, speaking to First Nations elders and students in order to help them find these spaces where they can craft these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something in the comic book field and graphic novel field. Stick Mob is trying to be able to, be at the front of that. Work with schools, work with communities, and trying to bring more stories and pretty much bring more value to these communities, instead of just someone rocking up, doing a workshop and then leaving.
Yes.
We want to be able to teach these kids, these school students, these mob, how to make comics, make what we love, and be able to tell stories which they're amazing at, and take their experiences from living out communities and put it into an actual story. And we want to be able to combine an anthology series of all these kids' works and pretty much bring it to these Comic-Cons and show more stories from mob. And we'll be able to see the people that are really interested and really inspired and really that are driven to be able to make their own stories, like Mixed Feelings, like Extra Dimensions, like Storm Warning, like Dark Heart and all that stuff, and get them all done. And we work very closely with Gosh Dog Publishing and Comics on Country, that pretty much Gosh Dog Publishing created so that more First Nations people can get their stuff published.
Is that Gosh Dog Publishing?
Gestalt.
Gestalt.
So it means shape in German.
I was going to say, it sounded German, but I was like, is it English or is it German? Gestalt.
Gestalt Publishing and all that stuff.
All right, beautiful.
They've been around forever, and now they've just, I think it's about a year or two old. Comics on Country is very much leading the headway for, pretty much, get the little thing for it, leading the headway for comics from First Nation people. And it doesn't matter where you're from, as long as you're First Nations and you're willing to get it done, Comics on Country and Stick Mob are there to help out.
Oh, wonderful. So where can people find more about you, Declan?
Check out info at stickmob, pretty much stickmobstudio.com.au. You can go on Comics on Country and find out more about our works. They sell our stuff there, and as well as stickmobstudio.com.au. We got Facebook, we got Instagram, we're working on our way to get Twitter, but yeah, we're out there and we're ready to keep going.
We'll put all the links in the description below. But also, you can see Declan on the 9th and 10th of June at the Logan Writers Festival. It'll be at the Logan West Community Centre, so we're indoors this year.
Yes!
Oh my gosh, thank you, Bendy. It's going to be a phenomenal panel of illustrators that Declan will be on, and you can speak to him at his stall on and off from his talk. So make sure that you book your tickets now, and also if you want to support these groups, you are welcome to become a sponsor for several of the speakers or of the festival itself. We're always looking for sponsors to help foster this love of literature in all forms, in all different communities. So come along, make sure you bring on your reading glasses, please don't forget those, and come and buy Mixed Feelings from Declan.
What?
Thanks so much for coming along again this year.
Thank you so much, and I'd like to add, if you ever want to bring, any artwork, any piece of portfolio, I'm happy to sit down with you and go through it with you if I have the time after talks and all that stuff.
Oh, beautiful. It's going to be a fantastic 2 days, so make sure you come along 9th and 10th of June. We'll see you there.
See ya!